So welcome everyone to our second WeCREATE event. My name is Femke Kool. I am the Center Coordinator for the Cambridge Center for AI in Medicine. And we have a wonderful session planned for today with some very inspiring panelists and of course an opportunity for you to ask them questions afterwards. I will briefly run you through today's session. So the format of today's session is, first I will do a brief introduction and tell you a bit about what WeCREATE is, just a little reminder of a few things. Then I will hand over to Mihaela van der Schaar to lead the panel discussion. Like I said, post questions at any time and we will cover them in the Q&A afterwards. And then we will wrap up at around 5. So a little bit about the purpose of WeCREATE. Mihaela and I started WeCREATE on the 8th of March this year, which was International Women's Day. And we started it with the aim to encourage and inspire female students and professionals who want to pursue creative careers in engineering, computer sciences, applied maths, and these related fields. We know that there are a lot of myths going around about women in these fields, and it's a mainly male-dominated area. So we are hoping to provide positive female role models to anyone who is interested in these areas. We really hope that we can build a community to encourage people, to inspire people, to support people, and to create a space where you can ask questions, network, interact with each other, and engage with our speakers and learn from them. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our website, WeCREATE.academy, because you will get updates about our future sessions. And we also have our launch event on YouTube. So you can find that also on our website, and please give it a watch because we had some really amazing speakers there, and it was a very also an inspiring session where they talked about the creativity in their jobs. So we had some current PhD students, people from industry, academia, and what I really took away from it is how much those people love their jobs and love being creative in their fields. And yeah, how happy everyone is to work in these fields, even though we have to overcome hurdles being a woman or being in a minority. So yeah, let's meet today's panelists. We have 3 amazing women on the panel. We have Anna Scaglione. She's a professor in electrical and computer engineering at Cornell University. We have Cheng, who's a principal researcher in machine intelligence at Microsoft Research. And we have Setareh Maghsudi, who's an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science at Tübingen University. So I will now hand over to Mihaela van der Schaar. She is a professor at the University of Cambridge and the director of the Van der Schaar Lab and director of the Center for AI in Medicine. So thank you, Mihaela.
Thank you, Femke, and thank you all for joining us today. It's really wonderful to see so many of you here, some males, some females, which is wonderful. This session is mainly targeting females, but is welcoming everyone, no matter your gender, to join us and be excited about these fields. And what I'm really excited about today is that I invited today 3 friends. So the women that I invited today are not only wonderful researchers, but also 3 personal friends. And with all these 3 women, I became friends through my work. So unlike the women that we highlighted in the previous session, who I may have met in the professional world, the women that I meet today are really also personal friends, and this friendship started by working together. And with Anna and Setareh, I also published papers, and with Cheng, I hope I will in the future. So thank you so much, Anna, Setareh, and Cheng, for joining me today. So what I'd like to start is by asking each one of you, and maybe I start with you, Anna, as the more senior person in the room together with me, and then maybe we can move to Cheng and Setareh. I want to start by asking two questions. One is, what was your career journey so far? And then second, can you give us an example of a project or several projects that you are working on and you are excited about?
Okay, I'll be happy to start, and I have a short presentation. Okay, so I want to say that to me, engineering is really the combination of science that becomes creative work. So in terms of journey, I actually mapped it out because it's fairly complicated, and I guess I couldn't describe it in words. So I'm Southern Italian. I was born in Reggio Calabria in 1971, so I'm definitely senior. And did all my studies, my engineering studies, including my PhD at the University of Rome, and came in the US for a postdoc at the University of Minnesota, and then started my complicated journey across several institutions that I list here. My first job as a faculty was at the University of New Mexico. Then I went to Cornell after just 1 year. Then for a personal reason more than professional reason, I decided to move to California, UC Davis, and finally converge with my husband. Then moved for professional reasons to Arizona. And then finally I came back, but this time I came back to Cornell Tech, which is the New York campus of Cornell. And so how did I get here? This is what Mihaela asked me. Basically, first of all, how did I choose to be an engineer? And so I want to kind of dispel the myth that every engineer takes things apart and puts them together. I wasn't very interested in knowing how things were working or the internal structure. What I was the happiest was when I was having a project, I was making new things. And so the interest I had is in how I would design them. And in that case, yes, decomposing problems in parts became a habit of mine. But also in terms of craft, I love to craft various things. And I am a persistent doodler. When I have time, I sketch cartoons and I make watercolors. These are some of the watercolors that I make. They don't look engineering driven at all. Since I had a propensity towards science and I wanted to be creative, even though I had no example in my family, no one was an engineer, there were a bunch of lawyers, medical doctors. I had clear in my mind that I had to become some kind of engineer, even though I didn't know what kind. So then I chose to become an electrical engineer. Why? I had really no clue and was not clear how to start. Luckily, when I joined engineering in Italy, the first 2 years were in common even with physics. So you could theoretically move to physics. But I saw that if I had to specialize, the best classes, the things that were more interesting to me were in electrical engineering. First of all, I had a love for algebra and geometry because I tend to be visual. And for me to go from 2 to 3 dimensions to generalize the world in n dimensions was great. I love statistics. So, how do you characterize things that are uncertain? System theory, I loved. And I also liked the fact that we were dealing with light, right? So we were studying electromagnetic fields because we could move the fastest things, right? Processes, computations, information. And the fact that you could essentially decompose your design in this sort of mathematical modules for me was extremely fascinating. And so I just never looked back. It was a perfect choice. Now I had 2 main projects that I wanted to highlight here. One is the first set of creative ideas. And as you can imagine, this was in my PhD years when really I fell in love with research. So I started my PhD in '96, and at the time, engineers were scrambling to move beyond whatever they had accomplished with wireless communications. Finally, there was some faith the cellular technology was going to boom, but the idea was, how are you going to transmit at a really high speed and go to the smartphones of today. And at the time, believe it or not, is over 20 years ago, I wrote some influential papers that essentially paved the way for how designs of 4G and 5G modems are done today. And it was, in a way, the combination of understanding what was the right mathematical formulation for the problem, what were the degrees of freedom that one had to design these modems, and how you would overcome all the obstacles that if you utilize only the conventional designs, you will not be able to overcome. So fast forward, it seems it's not a linear path to what I became interested in, but because I went from being interested in wireless communication for personal communication to being interested in machine-to-machine communications, what we call right now the Internet of Things, I started being more and more focused on what infrastructures will have the greatest benefit out of these machine-to-machine communications. And it's an era where essentially industrial control has changed dramatically because we have it in our home. We have industrial control in our home. So what the infrastructure I got most interested in was the energy infrastructure. Again, it had to do with electricity being a commodity that you move at the speed of light. And it's a very large system, an interconnected system with very complicated layers of decision-making and management. But most importantly, if you want to decarbonize this system, there is a big role that digital technology can play because you will need essentially to integrate renewable power and decarbonize the system to control also the demand, control the charging of electric vehicles, control thermal loads from buildings. And the system doesn't work right now. Even if it's relatively complex, it's not capable of managing this huge number of control points. And so, it's interesting to me to go in the realms of the physical world. And I'm also very strongly motivated by the fact that climate change is it's a constant worry for many people. And I feel that in my small way, I can contribute to solve the problem and just, again, throw algorithms, mathematics, and interesting optimization algorithms to it. And that's it. I hope I answered the question, Mihaela.
Thank you so much, Anna. Yes, very much. So I'll have follow-up questions in a little bit, but maybe now it's time for Cheng. And
yes.
then Setareh.
Yeah, I don't have the beautiful slides, so excuse me, I'll just talk about my journey. So in a way, it's a little bit similar. Also, actually one more continent. So I'm originally Chinese. In the end of my undergrad study, I went to Sweden through an exchange program. And then I did my master's degree and PhD degree in Sweden. So my master is in robotics and PhD in machine learning. And afterwards, I did my postdoc in Disney research. And that is actually in CMU, inside CMU research lab. And then afterwards, I moved to Microsoft and become a researcher here. And so through the journey, I really experienced not only a different research collaboration, a lot of technical education. I also experienced different culture, from Asian culture, where I'm born from, to Swedish culture, to US culture and UK culture. I mean, although Sweden and UK are not that far away, but culture-wise, there is fairly a lot of difference. So I think that's my journey. And through this technical field where I got where I am. So I think since I'm young, in the education, I just like math and physics more than things like history or politics. So I think that's just a natural interest. But then to where I am in machine learning, that's also not a smooth trajectory in the way that, it's not every time point I'm so certain, okay, I'm going for machine learning. It's actually at the time when I'm young, there's no field called machine learning. That's not there yet. And I think even in my undergrad, I was actually in automation. And then I was actually not sure, is that everything I want to explore? And I also want to know, I have friends study all different things. And although I kind of feel I like technical things, but I want to know more about other things. Actually, during undergrad, I did internship in human resource logistics, like a new business promotion. I even did another degree in management. I did accounting and all these courses. After I did this, I know I don't like them, and I think I don't want to continue. But meanwhile, I also give a lot of respect to people who are doing all these jobs. I know, like through all this, I know my heart is in solving technical problem. I really thinking these are challenging. You know, like there is an important problem, and I know how to solve it technically. It's just so exciting. There are space to create different solutions, and you know how to make impact. I think this is really making me excited. So I think after trying all these things, I know, yes, for sure, I like technical field. And so also like during the time when I did my master's degree, I mean, now every university have machine learning program. At the time when I did my master's degree, machine learning program still not existed at that time. I did my master's degree in robotics, but at the time, there's like computer vision. At the time, it's just fine. Wow, it's so fun. Like, you know, there are pixels, these are numbers, and you can recognize what's in the picture. That's just so fun. And there are mistakes, and that's so cool. And, you know, this just a feeling of this thing is cool and leads me into doing a PhD in machine learning. At the time, machine learning already like a more popular, I mean, there is already a PhD in machine learning. And that leads to where I am. I mean, for all the past decade, I've been doing machine learning research, and every single day, including today, I feel I know the vision, I know how I can make impact. Like for a project, for example, what I'm doing now, there are education people, there are sales people come to me and say, we have data, we have millions of students, or we have millions of customers. How do we do personalized education? How do we do personalized campaign? Then we can translate into a technical problem. We enable humans. We cannot let a human look at each student do personalized thing one by one. Machine learning has the possibility to create a solution. And in the one, like I can work with my colleagues, and we're the one making the solution. And I find that's just extremely rewarding. And I think that's my personal journey.
Thank you, Cheng. Setareh.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to attend this session today, and therefore I'd like to first thank Mihaela and Femke for organizing this and also for inviting me. So I have a few slides, so I share my screen. Well, great. Okay, so this is my academic path. I'm from Iran, and while studying and working in academia, I lived in different countries, several countries in Europe, the States, Canada, Japan, and briefly in some other countries. So I did work a lot to grow in academia, but I am very grateful to have the opportunity to live in different countries, experience and feel different people, different cultures. And similarly, I explored also several research domains. I started with electronics, later moved to topics in wireless communications, such as Internet of Things and cyber physical systems. I researched game theory and microeconomics, and finally I focused on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And today I am working in a collection of them, a field that I call decision making. So basically this figure shows what we are doing in my research group. Basically we develop decision making strategies with rigorous performance guarantees. So we consider humans as decision makers, and each decision is an action in an environment which changes the environment and creates some utility or well-being for humans. What we do is to develop algorithms that recommend some actions to humans. And of course, the humans interact with the environment and also with this algorithm. The data changes, the environment changes, the decision makers join and leave, and this entire system is dynamic, so it changes over time. And so do our algorithms. Well, I prominently, apply decision-making problems to engineering because of my background. But today there is a project that I like to mention. And that is one that I did in collaboration with Mihaela and two other colleagues, Andrew Lan and GSU. And that is about personalized education. So it was about applying artificial intelligence and machine learning methods to educational systems. And as you see here in this figure, an education system has different features. social, technical, and personal. And humans play different roles in this system as learners, instructors, policymakers, and the like. So by applying artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can help the humans, we can support them to perform in a way that the entire system performs way better than before applying artificial intelligence at a very low cost. And that means many services that today are considered as privileged can become accessible and affordable for a large population. And it is no question that low cost but high quality education has a great social impact and can really change the life of people. So that is the reason that I specifically like this project. That is where I see the impact. So therefore I wanted to mention it today. And well, that was it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all three of you. And yeah, I feel really proud to be your friend and collaborator, I need to say. Before I let others ask you questions, I want to ask one more question to each one of you. And this is a question I often get from my students, and unlike you, I've been in both worlds, so I find it difficult to choose one side or another. But because you have been mostly in one, it's somewhat easier to maybe ask you this question. So Anna and Setareh, why did you become professors? And are you happy that you are professors? And Cheng, you are working in a research lab. Why a research lab? And are you happy to be there? So maybe we start in a little bit different order. So maybe Cheng, we start with you, and then we let the professors talk.
Yeah, sounds great. So, I mean, of course, being a professor, that has been things in my back of my mind that definitely consider it. So, in a way, personally, I like research. I think the research is the core, and that's something I think both in university and in industrial research lab, like Microsoft Research, you can have a lot of time do research and being creative to solve things. And then why I choose industry in a way is I care about impact. You know, since you have a starting and you have the end. Research is a way to start a solution, be creative. But industry has the opportunity and have more ways if you want to see your research to the end, whether it's get to the user, when you really see your research being delivered in a platform or in some product or in any form. So I feel industry gives more means on the final part of the journey if you want to see the research to impact directly. But of course, personally, like the whole path is fun. It depends on the person, you know, how much you care about the whole journey. But for personally, I find a lot of joy, have the possibility to be creative, do research, meanwhile know the possibility to make the research delivered somewhere.
How about we invert the order and then...
Yeah, Setareh, maybe you go next.
Setareh, you start and then I...
Okay, well, thank you. So I would have been happy to wait for a senior colleague, but so here's the deal. Like, professorship has, of course, a very strong part as a researcher, but it has also another part of being an advisor and a teacher. And well, I like both of them. I feel I get energy when I do research, when I do, of course, good research. And of course, I also get energy when I convey the information that I have to others, to students in the classroom or to the PhD students that I'm working with them. And of course, there it's not only about one subject, rather, for example, how to do research, etc. And well, I like that. I like these two aspects. Of course, there are also other positive aspects of being a professor. So you can work almost independently. There is the freedom of research. So you can select really what you want to do, how much you want to do theory, how much you want to do application. So there is more. I have the feeling, because I haven't been in industry, so I'm not like opposing to the industry. I just have the feeling that there is some more freedom. So that those are also good aspects. But from this, I see that I can do the research and I also can work with people closely. So that was the reason. Thanks.
Okay, so when I decided to go to academia, this was kind of a very messy time of my life. In fact, there was a question also about what advice you would have liked. I would have loved for somebody to give me a lot of advice when I decided to become a PhD student. And it literally was my master thesis advisor that said, do you think you would like to do a PhD? And in Italy, every offer I was receiving was such a boring job, which just was not entailing any form of research. I love the research I did for my master. I always read the parts of the book that were not taught because I was interested in learning techniques and methods that were not necessarily kind of the immediate thing that you need to know to buy a router or do other things that you do as an engineer that doesn't do research. So because there was no research opportunity in Italy, I jumped into the PhD without thinking whether this will lead me to an academic career. And for most people in Italy, if you do a PhD, unless you go abroad, you would have not employed your time very well, because most of the jobs that are available for engineers there don't entail a lot of research. They are more application driven, right? So a lot of my very smart colleagues at the time were going to industry to lay out the new cellular networks that were growing at the time. And I thought, this is boring. I want to design the next standards for these phones. And so that's why I started a PhD, thinking I will go to an academic career simply because then I can do research and I want to stay in Italy. I had decided nothing. So I just signed, yeah, I'm going to do a PhD. That's much better. I didn't apply to any other graduate program. I didn't plan out to have a career in the US. I mean, it's a terrible decision to graduate from the University of Rome. I mean, I could have applied, perhaps they would have gotten me in one of the top schools. I did pretty well in my PhD. I suppose I could have gotten in a better place. Not that my advisor was great and I did a great thesis and I won the best paper award on the thesis. And that allowed me to reverse all this set of poor decisions that I made, because essentially I was very, I would have been able at the time I graduated to get any job pretty much in the US, because it was 1999, it was the dot-com boom. And I say that I probably was the only postdoc in wireless in the United States. Because if you had a PhD in wireless, and particularly if you had a PhD with the best paper award on the stuff that would have been eventually going in every modem, wireless modem, then you could have gotten in any company. But I felt at the time, and I was wrong. I think Cheng is right. There is a lot of interesting research that has immediate impact in research labs. I mean, for me, probably would have been ideal to go to Bell Labs, right? I would have loved it. And I had not paid attention to the aspect of teaching as much. So now I'm finally a good teacher, but it was a struggle in the beginning. And it took me 20 years. And it's advising PhD students, it can be a struggle, but it's very rewarding. So it's a thing that I would have missed if I understood at the time that the research lab would have been a good place for me, because I love to take these people in the range of 3 years. They're smart people, but they become just sort of Olympic champions under your guidance. Like you see that their brain now works and can solve problems like that. And that is just so rewarding. Unfortunately, they leave when you start to have real fun with them, then they leave. But I think that is another aspect that is a bonus. And I have to say that I agree on the fact that we have a little bit more freedom. Like the idea that I will go from being an expert in wireless and signal processing to do research in the energy infrastructure and power. Like who will do that? If I was doing research in a company, I probably would be hired because of the set of expertise that I had. Never I would have possibly gone from saying, I'm interested in IoT, I'm learning exactly how all energy delivery systems work, which is a little crazy what I did, but it worked for me. And I can say now that I understand certain aspects that of climate change and how difficult it is to transition, that I could not possibly understand if I didn't have this in-depth knowledge of how the infrastructure is organized. And so I just draw a lot of pleasure from the fact that I know it, and I can think how to fix it. So this is something I could not have done if I was in a company. I realize that. But I do agree that the idea of following an idea end to end and seeing it in the world, that's something that I don't feel I have, and I think people should really consider industry careers for what they provide.
Thank you all very much. I guess it's time now to let our audience ask questions. So a first question I think came from Elizabeth. Elizabeth, your question is for whom? For Anna? Or for...
Yes.
I forgot for who it was.
Yeah, I initially asked my question to Anna, but I think it does apply to everyone. So the question is, what do you wish you had known when you started out? But I think Anna has already kind of answered.
Yes, yeah.
This question.
Let Setareh and Cheng answer. What would you have liked to know when you started?
So in a way, I will build on top of Anna's answer, maybe. I mean, I just want to say that my PhD, I'm very happy working with my PhD advisor, but let's say if I, in a way that I really want to go for the top university by some metric, I'm confident I can go to by some metric, like a more famous university. But I want to say that first, maybe it's helpful if someone tell me you're good, don't afraid, go for it. I think that'll be helpful at the time. But another thing I realized is more later on is I feel it doesn't matter as much either. If you're good, you're your own brand. The university brand doesn't matter. So your brand will be way stronger than where you come from. So
amen.
I think that's what I want just to comment on based on what Anna just said. And I feel at the current time, I'm more just doing the good work, go for what I want to do. And yeah, just to get what I want to get and what happened.
Cheng, if I can allow me to comment on you. I think you are very right, but you talk about industry. I think if you are in industry, you are your own brand. Unfortunately, and I'm not sure Anna and Setareh will agree with me, academia, yes, you are your own brand, but it will take you longer to get where you want to go. If you have a PhD in a place that's not recognized so much by the places that they want to. So from their point of view, that's a very positive aspect of industry, who cares much more about what you can do today rather than where you are coming from.
Yeah, I think just to, for me, I think for my attitude is in a way is make best out of it. Whichever situation you are in, make best out of it. If you're already in a particular PhD program, do a stellar PhD like Anna did, have the best paper award for the thesis, and then it will make you easier for everything afterwards. I think make best out of it. I think it's more my attitude for a lot of things now.
Yeah, I mean, you have to help your luck. From any situation, you have to help your luck. You can work very hard. Eventually, if you help your luck working very hard, things, I think most of the times work out. And I had stellar students, and when I moved to UC Davis, which is not a top tier school, some of my students did such great work that they got postdocs at Stanford, MIT, and then they built a network from there, and then they got great jobs. So it's true that this is a very kind of clubby job, right? In terms of academics, they want you to come from these clubs, but you can definitely read your work if it's cited, it's impactful, and you know how to sell your work because there is a part of salesmanship that is. Then I think you can have the trajectory you want, and then once you're established, nobody cares.
Thank you. I'm going to now move to another question because we have now many, many questions. Thank you for them. So Maria, you have a question for Setareh. Can you please ask your question?
Hi. Yeah, for Setareh, but for all of them, do you have any advice to how to reach out to other researchers and how to find opportunities and how to like get yourself into places? Like it's hard to, it's like applying the whole process is so scary. So if you have any advice for that, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. So opportunity for collaboration sometimes arise as a result of interaction, simple interaction between scientists about their ideas. So to catch such opportunity, you should have the courage to talk about your ideas and your research in different social events or conferences, even lunchtime, whenever you get the possibility. So simply introduce yourself and talk about your research. And of course, at the same time, also listen to others actively and think how you can sort of collect the opportunity of collaboration. And if you sort of are not looking for opportunistic collaboration, rather have a specific idea or project in mind to collaborate on, I would suggest to try to start the communication intellectually. So have a brief plan, rough description of the idea, what would be the workload, is there any deadline, what are the skills that you bring in, and what are your expectations from the collaborator. And because that shows that you are serious and committed. Since everyone is sort of booked up, it is great that you look inside your network or the network of your advisor to reach out for people. And if you have the possibility, it is better to go and meet people than or attend their talk and briefly introduce yourself and then send follow-up email than just simply start the communication with an email, especially if you do not know the person. But that was it from me. If others have.
I guess let's move to another question because we have many good questions, I think, if you allow me. So Zara, would you mind coming on video and if you want and ask your question? I don't know for whom your question is, but maybe you select one of the panelists and.
Yeah, hi. For people in academia, for Anna and Setareh, I was wondering if have you ever doubts about if your research is impactful, and when you're starting a new project, a new research direction, do you make sure if that is impactful for the society? Thank you.
That's an interesting question. Do you want to start or should I start?
No, I prefer that you answer because it also came up previously. So I would be glad if you take it.
Right. So in fact, it's I always think that you have to like your idea. So if you're a person that is creative, you don't want to listen to anybody. Like you are like a child, right? You like this idea. In fact, I heard a neuroscientist say that when we are creative, we active. It's just a part of the brain children have very active. So this idea of thinking, oh, I have to check this box that this is gonna change everybody's opinion on this technology or make it is not like the creative process occurs. To me, it occurs like, Eureka, I think this is good. I think this is cool. It's like you are in this wood, dark wood, and you see the light and you want to go there. It doesn't matter what's there. It could be a monster or it could be a total dump. You just want to go there. And I feel the same when I draw or do something. I don't have a perfect plan. I have some kind of idea and I want to do it. It just makes me happy doing it. So that's how I feel. And I don't know that everything I did, in fact, not everything I did certainly had impact, but it doesn't matter. If the process is good, you will find something. And if you're really motivated and you can motivate others, sell your idea, eventually, you're gonna come up with great stuff. That's my view.
If I allow me, Anna and everyone else, Zara, another thing is the applications may not appear in next year. They may appear 10 years later. Based on my own experience, many of my works are now popular, but when I did them were not. It took 10, 20 years at times to materialize. So that shouldn't dissuade you from doing it, Zara.
You're right.
We have another question from Alice. Alice, would you mind coming online and selecting a speaker and asking your question?
Me now. Yes, my question is actually for Miss Zhang. So I'm not the academic, but I got the passion, like I got the curiosity for knowledge. I just wondering, like, if my interest more lies in business, because I'm currently working at a professional service company doing consulting advisory. Like, I don't want to limit myself, but unlike you, I'm not a big fan of like math. I know determine, that's what I wanted to do. Like, would you still recommend me to do a degree or like on this area? Just because like, even though like how to bring the knowledge back to business, is it worth it? Hope that's clear.
Yeah, I think so. So I cannot make a decision this way. I can see the point, but I think the thing is two things. One is, personally, I don't want to do things that I don't like. So I will just spend time for the things actually I enjoy to do. But second, there are something different. It can happen. It's almost like reinforcement learning. You like something very much long term, but then to achieve that thing, you just want it so much, you can, kind of work something, and then you can make something you originally don't enjoy become enjoyable, just because it helps you to achieve something you really, really want. So there is a little bit self-motivating, so that if you want that much and you are super clear, like your mind is on that, I want to achieve that, and everything along the way to achieve that will make you have joy in some degree. You get a new type of motivation, I believe.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Cheng. I realize I missed one question. Joy, would you like to come online and ask your question?
Thank you, Mihaela. My question is for Cheng. And I'm wondering, like, how have you conquered those career obstacles when you're meeting them, especially for the culture transfer part? Thank you.
Yeah, so first, I just maybe I have a little bit low standard for myself. I kind of like, in a way, I forgive myself when I make cultural mistakes. In a way, it's like, let's say basically, like I know I cannot pronounce many of the foreign name correctly, but meanwhile they don't pronounce my name correctly either. So why bother? So like, if I do the mistake, I will apologize sincerely. But in a way that, as far as we all come from a good place, I think I'm just not like afraid to make mistakes as far as my heart is in the right place.
Thank you.
Also, I have to say that it's a very international community. People, engineers, it's very international. So we kind of have our own culture where we usually are pretty respectful of everybody. And to me, there is more of a gender issue, I would say, than a cultural issue overall. A gender issue because we are few, but very nice ones.
We are going to change this. We are going to change this.
That's what we want to
this
change.
Is the purpose here, yes.
Yeah. The only benefit of the bathroom line is very short in technical conferences for women.
If they have one on every floor, we will let the joke pass. Sorry. So Rui, would you like to come online and ask your question?
Yes, first of all, thank you everyone for sharing your experience. It's always so nice to see like many female figures doing so well in either academia or industry. My question is related to stress, because I think personally I'm struggling quite a lot, and I feel because I haven't worked in any other positions, I feel other career paths would have resulted in a slightly less stressful experience. I think personally, I think the stress comes from, first, research is like not always resulting in positive results. So there is an uncertainty. And the second, paper publications, review, facing reviews that's challenging, can be a bit like stressful. And especially when you are at a junior position, all the work is on you, you do the hard lifting. What if like the thing that you've worked months or years that result in something being rejected multiple times. And I wanted to ask the question, do you think the stress gets better as the career progresses? And do you have any advice on this? How to handle stress? I'm sorry, I'm asking more than one question actually.
No, but it's a very
Anna,
good question.
Will you go first, and then maybe Setareh, you can go as well?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it will get better because you get used to be punched, right? And it's hard work, right? What I actually had a line in my slide, but I didn't go through it. It says, you know, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of stress in the beginning and sense of inadequacy. You overcome that over time because you get used to say, okay, these reviewers did this. Okay, just let me collect myself and move on and plow on. You have to do it. But the profession is, as I said, we have all these creative outlets. It pays well, right? It would be nice to paint watercolors at home without nobody telling me, but I would be poor and destitute. And I wouldn't learn as much, right? Instead, learning science is exciting. So you have to not just overthink the process you are in and stress out about it because things do change. You have ups and downs constantly. And then as you grow older, you get more used to deal with it and just move on. You don't overthink what happened and feel really down about a failure. Failures happen. But just you stop overthinking and think about the next thing, the next project, the next way you are going to overcome the problem. And you learn through it. You learn what you are good at or what you shouldn't do. So stress is a condition that it's bad, but it gets better.
Setareh, anything to add?
But I think I fully agree with Anna. Of course, I do not have the experience of Anna. I'm still, assistant professor. So, but I can feel for you. So I'm at the stage, and I really feel that there is a lot, and there is a lot of stress and a lot of work. And maybe the thing that, as Anna says, the main problem is that all of these are new. So it takes some time just to learn how to deal with it, and then it becomes normal. It becomes a part of it, and it becomes way easier. And of course, there will be still a lot to do, but it's way easier to handle, and there's nothing more new, so it's nothing scary because you get used to it. Yeah.
If I can add one thing, just that gender matters. Women tend to be more outspoken about their difficulties and want to talk about their difficulties, but oftentimes we don't feel comfortable talking about them with our advisors. So I think it's important to find somebody you can talk to about these things, maybe laugh and just try to take the situation less seriously, but vent, because stress is something we don't have to bottle up and feel like this is a big monkey in our back only.
I completely agree, Anna. This is what I was wanting to just interject and say. So Rui, I, like you, had a lot of stress, especially in the beginning, a lot, and I didn't share it, and I didn't make connections to share it, partially because at the time that Anna and I were starting, there were very few women professors. I remember being only the second woman professor in 50 plus people. So there was just one more woman, and it was much older than me. So it was very difficult. But I think try to find a network, even if it's not in your professional network. Try to find a network, as Anna says, and share and find ways to. And partially, I need to be honest, why I started this event is to create a forum like this, where people can share ideas, can share feelings, and can share not only the positives, but the negatives. But we have one final question, time for one final question. So Vatsala, are you still online?
Hi, yes, I'm on.
Can you come on video if you like, if you can, otherwise it's okay. Wonderful. Please, can you ask your question and select somebody to answer it? I guess it's more for Cheng and Setareh, I guess, but.
Yeah, Cheng and Setareh. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for this inspiring talk. And it was very helpful listening to all of you. My question is on how did you decide, while going forward in your journey, how did you decide on what you want to do research on? because there's so many fields right now which are very interesting, but they're also very deep. So you can't go in depth unless you just choose one at a particular time. But you also cannot choose one like because you're interested in a lot of other subjects. That's my question.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start first. And so, I mean, first I'm in industry research lab. And I think another difference from industry research lab to academia, I think it's more impact driven. So it's important for us to imagine like what a success looks like. So almost your journey haven't started, but it can be like, for example, AI for science, they want to use machine learning to make a new material, discover another 10 million material. So you want to see what's the impact in the end. So for industry research lab, choosing the direction, thinking about the impact, like what type of differentiator are you going to make is important. And so that's one thing, but then that's maybe a little bit different university, but I think for personal, I kind of always like, if your time equally can spend on two things, doing this with more impact, that would be great. That would be better. And second, I think definitely you want to align with your personal research interest in the way like what you want to do. Yeah, like in the range, like if someone asks me, hey, maybe you do biology, which is a field I have no idea, and I don't think that's my highest interest either, even it have a lot of impact, but I don't think that will be something I'll pick up. I think in the end, being in the position where I am, I think it will be more a mix of where I evaluate the impact in a vision way, like what type of differentiation I can make for this work. And then another thing is research interest. It's something I want to do and I enjoy it.
I can add maybe something, and from the academic perspective, it can be daunting because we have more options, right? So we actually can just sort of say, okay, what we want to work on? So maybe something that will not have impact, as Mihaela said, in 10 years, maybe further down the road. But I would say that you always know something about the problem. Like you have some knowledge about the tools to attack a problem. And that's a good condition to be in if you want to choose an area. Like don't choose the area where you don't know anything, because it may be fascinating and full of buzzwords, but you are not going to be able to perform research on it. So it has to you have to have a light bulb in your brain that says, oh, I understand how this problem could be formulated. It's not only impactful, but it's something that resonates with what I like, with what my tools, my mathematical understanding or scientific understanding of the world is. So Cheng was saying, like, if I don't, something that she's on a chemical engineer domain, I'm never gonna get interested because it's not in my mathematical vocabulary. But if something has to do with data, most of the things will be interesting to me. And then applications that are important to me will combine some aspects of the stuff I know. They combine data processing, networks, algorithms, optimization. And it happens to be now the energy infrastructure is interesting to me, but anything that is mathematically within the realms of the things I understand, it's a good subject. And the more I like the mathematics in that problem or the formulation, the more I want to research it.
That's because you are so geeky. You like the mathematics.
I do, and I like
your
modeling.
passion. Find your passion, Vassala, whatever that is. Mathematics, data, fairness. Fall in love with it, and definitely AI in healthcare. Sorry, this is a joke. I need to sell AI in healthcare because this is my passion.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna, Setareh, and Cheng. It's so wonderful to be talking to you, and thank you all everyone who joined us today. And was wonderful to listen to you. And I get inspired as well. Famke, back to you.
Thank you, everyone. I thought that was wonderful. Thanks for all the tips and advice. I have really enjoyed it. I hope the audience has as well. Good questions that we covered, I think. Yeah, so just to wrap up, I was going to show you what's next for WeCREATE. We will also soon announce the next session for September. That will also be on our website, and if you subscribe to the website, you will get the updates. This session will be on YouTube in a few days. And I wanted to mention that the Cambridge Centre for AI and Medicine is running the world's first summer school focused on AI and machine learning in healthcare. So have a look at the website. You can find this on the CCAIM website. There's a section about the summer school. It has the whole program there, something about the topics we cover and the speakers. So have a look if you're interested. If you want to get more involved with WeCREATE, send us an email. It is WeCREATE@DAMTP, so Department of Applied Maths and Theoretical Physics. Let everyone know about these sessions. Please share them so we can reach as many people as possible and share this wonderful knowledge that everyone has. So yeah, thank you everyone for today. I hope you will join us again. Thanks for asking the questions. Thanks our panel for your great advice. And we hope to see you again next time. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.